Don't listen to the world, listen to this. Don't listen to the world when it tells you your dream is too big. The world sees limits. Your mind must see beyond them. Every great achievement began with a mind that refused to be silenced. Listen instead to the quiet voice inside you that says, I can. That voice is the blueprint of your destiny. Follow it with unwavering faith. Sure, here are 5 keynotes for the speech, Don't Listen to the World, Listen to This, in the style of Napoleon Hill. 1. The world's opinions are shaped by fear. Your vision must be shaped by faith. 2. True success begins when you trust your inner voice over outside noise. 3. Critics see obstacles, creators see opportunities. 4. Your mind is the master key. Don't hand it to the crowd. 5. Greatness demands you walk alone before the world applauds. 1. The world's opinions are shaped by fear. Your vision must be shaped by faith. That's the truth most people never stop to realize. You see, the world operates on a system built to maintain comfort, not to foster courage. It rewards conformity, not creativity. It praises safety, not strength. When you present a bold idea, a grand dream, a different way of thinking, the first response you'll often get is resistance. Because fear hates the unknown. It recoils at change. It tightens its grip when it senses risk. The average mind, conditioned by years of limitation, will try to pull you back the moment you dare to rise above what's normal. It's not because people hate you. It's because they don't understand how to think beyond fear. They've been taught to survive, not to thrive. That's why you must not listen to the world when it tells you, be realistic. That's impossible. You're wasting your time. These are not facts. They are echoes of fear. And fear is not your advisor. It is not your friend. It is the very enemy of progress, the thief of your destiny. You were not born to be another copy of someone else's life. You were born with a mind capable of vision, with a heart designed to believe in things unseen. That's what faith is. Faith is seeing a result in your spirit before the world recognizes it. Faith is daring to take the first step even when the full staircase is hidden. Faith is refusing to be guided by the noise of doubters and choosing to trust the quiet whisper of purpose inside you. And let me tell you, every person who's ever done something extraordinary had to first ignore the voices of fear that came dressed as logic, as concern, even as love. They had to develop the ability to look into the fog of uncertainty and say, I don't know what's out there, but I believe it's meant for me. That's power. That's the essence of greatness. The world may give you 1,000 reasons why you should stay small, stay silent, stay safe. But if your spirit keeps pushing you towards something more, then that is the only voice you must listen to. Because the world doesn't know the blueprint that lives inside your soul. It can't see what you see. It hasn't felt what you felt. It didn't live your pain, your dreams, your late nights and silent prayers. So why should its opinion carry more weight than your calling? Stop measuring your worth by the yardstick of public approval. Stop waiting for everyone to believe in you before you start believing in yourself. If the world had its way, the light bulb would have never been invented, flight would have remained a fantasy, and every great revolution would have been silenced before it started. The world said it was too risky. The world said it would never work, but someone, somewhere, refused to listen. Someone chose faith. Someone decided that the vision burning in their heart was louder than the fear shouting from the crowd. And that someone changed everything, that someone could be you, but only if you stop letting fear write your story. Only if you close your ears to the voices of small thinking and open your mind to the voice of bold belief. Your dream doesn't need the world's permission. It only needs your decision. Make that decision today. Stop giving away your power to opinions that don't pay your bills. Don't live your life, and don't understand your fire? This is your time to take control of your mind, to shape your vision with faith, and to walk forward even when no one else is clapping, because eventually, when your faith becomes fact, the same world that doubted you will turn around and call you a genius. But by then, you won't need their applause, because you'll already have something better, the deep, unshakable pride of knowing you followed your vision when it was hardest to believe. That, my friend, is real success. That is how leaders are made, so don't listen to the world. Listen to your faith, let it guide your steps, fuel your focus, and anchor your spirit. The world may fear the unknown, but you must embrace it. Because your destiny is not in what the world expects of you, but in what your heart dares to believe, too. True success begins when you trust your inner voice over outside noise, because that voice within you, quiet as it may seem at times, is the only one that truly knows your path, your purpose, and your potential. The world will always have something to say. People will speak from their own limitations, their own wounds, their own failures and fears, and they'll project those onto you as if their boundaries should become your blueprint. But your inner voice doesn't operate from fear. It speaks from vision. It whispers what you're capable of even before you see it with your own eyes. It nudges you toward greatness while the world tries to pull you toward comfort. That's the clash you face every day. The internal call to become more versus the external pressure to stay the same. But here's the truth. No one else can hear the call on your life like you can. No one else has been given your dreams, your desires, your unique fire. So when you tune out your inner voice to seek validation from others, you end up chasing a life that doesn't belong to you. You start living according to someone else's expectations, and before long, you're left feeling empty, frustrated, even angry, not because you lack talent, but because you abandoned your truth, your gut, your instinct, your deep down knowing. It's not just emotion, it's intelligence. It's the wisdom of your soul, and it's not random either. That inner guidance is pointing you toward the life you were born to create. But the problem is, we've been trained since childhood to look outside for answers. We're told to follow rules, to listen to authority, to please the crowd, and over time, we forget how to trust ourselves. We guess every move, hesitate on every decision, and drown in opinions that don't even reflect who we are. That's not success, that's survival, and the moment you decide to stop surviving and start living, everything changes. The noise of the world begins to fade when you choose to listen inward. You stop asking for permission and start walking in purpose. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and begin creating it, because real power doesn't come from applause, it comes from alignment, from aligning your actions with your intuition, your thoughts with your truth, your path with your passion. And yes, it's scary. It's hard to follow your inner voice when no one else sees what you see. It's hard to break away from the crowd, especially when that crowd includes the people you love. But your journey isn't about making everyone else comfortable. It's about becoming who you were meant to be. You've got to be willing to feel alone sometimes. You've got to be okay with being misunderstood, even criticized, because that's the price of authenticity. And yet, once you get past that fear, once you push through that wall of doubt, you'll find something no crowd can ever give you: peace. The kind of peace that comes from living in alignment. The kind of peace that wakes you up in the morning with energy and puts you to bed at night with gratitude. That peace is priceless. That peace is power. And it's only available to those who listen to the voice within. So when the world gets loud, and it will, when the voices tell you to quit, when the critics say you're crazy, when the doubts come knocking, you've got to pause and listen to something deeper. Ask yourself, what do I know to be true in my soul? That question will guide you far better than any expert ever could, because at the end of the day, success isn't about looking good to others, it's about feeling whole within yourself. It's about knowing you didn't betray your dream just to fit into a box. It's about having the courage to follow that inner pull, even when it doesn't make sense on paper. That's how leaders rise. That's how trailblazers are born. Not by following trends, but by following truth. And truth, my friend, doesn't scream, it whispers. So quiet the outside world. Turn down the noise, get still, get honest, and get aligned. Your inner voice has been waiting for you to trust it. And the moment you do, you'll realize you've had the answers all along. You'll begin walking a path that's not only successful but meaningful, and in that journey, you'll discover the real victory, becoming the fullest version of yourself, guided not by noise, but by knowing. 3. Critics see obstacles, creators see opportunities. That's the fundamental difference between those who stay stuck and those who rise. Critics look at the world through the lens of limitation, constantly pointing out what could go wrong, what hasn't worked before, and why something probably won't work now. They focus on the flaws, the risks, the reasons to play it safe. But creators, they see something else entirely. Where others see a dead end, they see a door waiting to be built. Where others see chaos, they see a canvas. Creators don't deny the presence of problems, but they refuse to let those problems define what's possible. They understand that every challenge holds the seed of invention, every setback hides the lesson that leads to growth, and every no is just a step closer to the right yes. You see, a critic operates from a mindset rooted in the past. They speak based on what has been, not what could be. Their language is shaped by fear and failure, but creators, they're fueled by imagination, by boldness, by the audacity to believe that they can bring something new into the world. And that's what you've got to decide every day. Will you think like a critic or like a creator? When life hands you resistance, will you freeze, or will you forge ahead and create something better from it? Most people don't realize how powerful their perspective really is. If all you see are problems, you'll be paralyzed. But if you choose to see possibility, you'll find the strength to push through. Look around. Every invention, every innovation, every breakthrough we now take for granted came from someone who saw a solution where others only saw a struggle. Someone dared to believe that they could reshape the future, even when the present looked bleak. And those people, they weren't superheroes. They were ordinary men and women with extraordinary faith in their ability to create. They understood that critics are loud but powerless, while creators are quiet but impactful. You don't have to defend your vision to people who have never built anything. You don't need approval from those who only know how to point fingers. What you need is belief. Belief in your power to turn ideas into action. Belief in your ability to turn failure into fuel. Belief that even if 100 people tell you it can't be done, you can still be the one to prove them wrong. Because history doesn't remember the critics, it remembers the creators, and you don't need to wait for the perfect moment because it doesn't exist. You create the moment by deciding that now is good enough to start. Maybe you don't have all the tools yet, maybe the path isn't clear, maybe people are already doubting you, but none of that matters if your mindset is right. When you think like a creator, you start to see through problems instead of being stopped by them. You begin to ask better questions, not why is this happening to me, but what can I learn from this, not can I survive this, but how can I use this to grow? And those questions, they open doors in your mind. They unlock strength you didn't know you had. Critics ask, what if you fail? Creators ask, what if I succeed beyond anything I imagined? That's the shift, that's the power. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to see the situation differently, to take a problem and treat it like a puzzle, to take pain and turn it into purpose. That's what creators do. They build, they mold, they transform. They don't wait for life to hand them something ideal. They take the raw material of what is and they shape it into something meaningful. And yes, it's hard. Yes, it requires patience, perseverance, and a whole lot of grit. But the reward, oh, the reward is freedom. The freedom to live life on your terms, to bring something beautiful into existence, to leave a mark that outlives the noise of the critics. So the next time someone tells you it can't be done, don't argue. Don't waste your energy proving them wrong with words. Prove them wrong by building. Let your work speak. Let your results be the evidence. You don't have to silence the critics. They'll do that themselves once your creation stands tall and undeniable. Keep your head down, stay focused, and keep creating. Every masterpiece begins as a messy, misunderstood idea. Every great leap forward begins with one person choosing to see what others can't. Be that person. Be the one who sees the opportunity buried inside the obstacle. Because when you do, you step into the most powerful role life has to offer, not the role of the critic, but the role of the creator. 4. Your mind is the master key. Don't hand it to the crowd, because once you do, you give away the only real power you'll ever have, the power to choose your thoughts, direct your focus, and shape your destiny. Most people don't realize this, but everything in your life, every win, every loss, every breakthrough, every setback starts right there in your mind. It's the command center, the source, the silent architect behind every action you take and every result you get. But the danger is, if you don't consciously take control of it, someone else will. The world is full of voices trying to plant seeds in your head, telling you who you should be, what you can't do, what you ought to fear, and how small you should think. And if you're not careful, you'll absorb those ideas like they're your own. You'll start living by someone else's limits, carrying someone else's fears, chasing someone else's idea of success. You'll wake up one day and realize that the life you're living isn't even yours. It's a copy of the crowd's expectations. That's why protecting your mind is the most important discipline you can ever develop. You have to guard it like a vault because it holds the blueprint of your future. Every thought is a builder and every belief is a brick. If you fill your mind with doubt, negativity, and fear, you'll build a prison that traps your potential. But if you fill it with vision, gratitude, and courage, you'll build a pathway to freedom. That's how powerful your mind is. It doesn't reflect the world, it creates it. And you don't need permission to use that power. You don't need approval, you just need awareness. The awareness that you are not your environment, you are not your circumstances, and you are not the crowd's opinion. You are the thinker behind the thought, the driver behind the wheel. So, why on earth would you let someone else take the wheel? Why would you hand your mind over to people who have never built anything, never dreamed big, never taken a risk? Why would you take advice from those who are too scared to step into the arena themselves? You have to stop letting noise from the outside drown out the clarity on the inside. Stop scrolling through other people's lives, hoping to find your worth. Stop letting the news, the trends, the gossip, the opinions decide how you feel and what you believe. Because every time you let the crowd inside your head, you're making your mind a playground for chaos. But when you take it back, when you start filtering your thoughts, being intentional about your focus, feeding your mind with truth, growth, and vision, you become unstoppable. You start to think independently, dream originally, act boldly, and that's when your life starts to change, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. You begin to realize that you are not a victim of the world, you're the author of your story. And your mind is your pen. Every day, every hour, you're writing the script with the thoughts you choose to dwell on. Think weak, live weak. Think big, live big. That's the law, and no one else gets to write that script unless you let them. So don't hand your mind to the crowd. Don't let popular opinion become your compass. Don't let fear disguised as advice derail your direction. Instead, step back, get quiet, and listen to your own thoughts. Examine them. Ask, is this thought helping me or hurting me? Is it pushing me forward or holding me back? That single habit can transform everything, because once you take ownership of your mind, you take ownership of your life. And the truth is, the crowd rarely knows where it's going. Most people are just following the person in front of them who's also lost. They're reacting instead of creating, surviving instead of living. But you, if you want more, if you want freedom, fulfillment, and a future worth waking up for, you've got to be different. You've got to be deliberate. You've got to take the master key of your mind and use it to unlock the doors no one else sees. Don't expect them to understand. Don't wait for them to support you. Just start thinking higher, believing deeper, and acting bolder. Because once your mind is your own, the world becomes your playground. Obstacles become puzzles, rejection becomes redirection, and every limitation becomes a challenge waiting to be conquered. That's the power you've had all along, not in your hands, not in your bank account, not in your connections, but in your mind. And once you stop handing it over to the crowd, you start living the life you were born to live. 5. Every great breakthrough begins with a decision to follow your own compass, even when the world points in the opposite direction, because greatness has never been found in the crowd. It's always been carved out by the individual who dared to walk alone, who dared to trust a vision that no one else could see. The truth is, the world doesn't reward conformity. It rewards courage, and courage means you'll have to step away from the familiar, the comfortable, and the expected. It means being willing to walk a path that others avoid, to hold firm when others waver, and to listen to your heart when the noise around you says, "Play it safe." The crowd will always try to pull you back to average, not because they're evil, but because your boldness reminds them of the risks they never took. Your clarity highlights their confusion, your dreams make their excuses feel smaller. And rather than rise to meet your standard, they'll try to pull you down to theirs. That's why so many people never realize their potential. They spend their lives chasing approval instead of chasing their calling. They silence their own inner voice to gain the temporary comfort of fitting in, but fitting in has never been the path to fulfillment. It may win you applause for a moment, but it will rob you of purpose for a lifetime. Because deep down, we all know when we're betraying ourselves. You can't fake alignment, you can't force peace, and you can't live your best life by following someone else's script. You've got to be willing to break away from the masses and build something authentic. Maybe that means taking a different route. Maybe that means risking failure, criticism, or misunderstanding. But what's the alternative? Living a life that isn't yours, trading your fire for acceptance. No, real freedom begins the moment you say, "I don't need to be understood. I need to be true." And that truth, your truth, is powerful. It's what fuels you when things get hard. It's what anchors you when the world is uncertain. It's what separates leaders from followers, creators from imitators, legends from the forgotten. The crowd is comfortable, predictable, and safe, but it's also where dreams go to die. The crowd will cheer you when you win but disappear when you fall. The crowd will celebrate your results but rarely support your grind, so don't count on them to carry you. Count on your vision, your discipline, and your relentless belief in something greater. Decide today that you don't need the crowd's permission to move forward. Decide that your dream is enough, your drive is enough, your effort is enough, and once you make that shift, something incredible happens. You stop chasing validation and start chasing impact. You stop trying to please and start trying to grow. You stop looking around and start looking within. That's when momentum builds. That's when life opens up. And that's when you start attracting people who don't just tolerate your ambition, they match it. People who aren't threatened by your success but inspired by it. Because when you rise above the crowd, you don't just elevate yourself, you give others permission to do the same. You become a living example of what's possible when someone decides to bet on themselves. And that's the kind of life that echoes long after you're gone. So don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to stand alone. Don't water down your dream just to make it easier to swallow for others. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs the full, unfiltered version of you, the bold, brilliant, and unapologetically driven you. And the sooner you stop looking for direction in the crowd, the sooner you'll find it within. Walk boldly, trust deeply, and never forget, the road less traveled wasn't empty by accident. It was reserved for you.